Going on, everybody? Back for another video today. It's going to be another football video. If you didn't see the last one, talked about Patrick Mahomes getting his $500 million contract. And in this video, I'm going to talk about, since it's July 9th, I'm going to give you guys 9 reasons why the 49ers, just to stick with the theme, will not go back to the Super Bowl this year. And I could even take it a step further and say why they won't even make the NFC Championship Game. Okay, I know it's, basketball's about to start and whatnot, and I will probably post some videos about basketball here in the next few days, but we've really been grinding out the basketball content on our podcast. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Me, my friends Bailey and Dylan, we all do a podcast once a week, give or take, and we've really been deep diving lately. So that's why you're not seeing the basketball content right now, but it's coming, I promise. And I'm going to give you my reasons. So number 1 and number 2 are both combined. They're both losses, right? You have the loss of DeForest Buckner, and then you have the loss of their number 1 receiver, Emmanuel Sanders. Now, as I was saying, 49ers defense last year was on another level type good, right? They gave up the least amount of passing yards over the course of the season, and they also generated the 5th most sacks on the season. So, yeah, Nick Bosa was incredible, Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, but I really think a big factor to that was DeForest Buckner in the middle, commanding double teams, disrupting the other team's running game to where teams had to drop back and pass a lot. And with them losing him to Indianapolis, I really think that affects their defense a little more than, it might show just in terms of statistics that DeForest had. But it just, in terms of impact, I really think that's a big, big loss for them. And if you look at Emmanuel Sanders on the other side of the ball, he was their number 1 receiver, right? And say what you want to say about Deebo Samuel. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a very, very good player. But as of right now, I don't think he's equipped to be your number 1. And if he is, I think there's a certain ceiling on how good your team can be, right? Emmanuel Sanders last year, 66 receptions, 5 receiving touchdowns, number 1. And more importantly, he had the effect of, it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, whatever it was, and you need a big passing play, and other teams are double teaming George Kittle, which you'll see a lot more this year with the loss of Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders could be that second guy on the offense who could just go out and get you a first down, and you knew every time he would just craft his way into finding enough separation to getting open, right? He's a veteran Super Bowl champ. He's been there before. So I really think that's a loss that you can't underrate when you look at the Niners team this year. The second reason leads me into my third reason. I don't think Jimmy G is going to hit another level this year. I don't think he's going to take that next step that so many people have been telling me watch out for, right? To me, he's an average quarterback. Maybe on his best day, he's slightly above average. He had the game against the Saints where he was very, very good. He made all the timely throws, led them on that game-winning drive in that great game where George Kittle stiff-armed some Saints safety all the way into Texas. But over a course of a season, you lose a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, and there's more of an onus on you to be great because of my number 4 reason. I don't see him making that leap. So yes, what is my number 4 reason, huh? I tell you that it is the depth of the running game that they had last year that made them so great. You had the 3-headed monster, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. And that made them electric because it was just a constant platoon swap and a different guy coming in fresh and gashing you behind that great Shanahan scheme. Kyle adopted it from his father, Mike. Had its own running scheme, and he added a wrinkle with it with a lot of motions, a lot of jet sweeps to Deebo, things of that nature. But it was really the running backs, when you look at it, that had so much success. This offseason, you lose Matt Breida. I believe he went to Miami. And then now Raheem Mostert, as of yesterday, saying, hey, he wants a trade. He's requested a trade because he felt he hasn't been paid. And it just goes to my whole running back thing. 49ers might feel like, hey, we can get another guy for half of what you're asking to do the same thing because we trust that it's our system rather than you as the running back Mostert or you as the running back Breida. But one way or another, I believe that's a system that takes a little bit of time to learn, takes a few games, and while Tevin Coleman's still there and he's still a very good back, he's going to be asked to be doing carrying more of the load, which could be good or it could be disastrous. And Jerick McKinnon doesn't scare me. Who else? Who's on their roster? And so I think that's something you should definitely look out for. My next point is 2 points in itself. Point 5 and 6 is Russell Wilson, and he's 2 points because he plays them 2 times. And I firmly believe that the Seahawks will beat the 49ers twice this year, whereas last year they split and it helped the 49ers get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Whereas this year, I believe the Seahawks take both of those games, and you might see San Francisco in a wild card situation. Okay, Russell Wilson, going into the season, I don't really think there can be much of a debate that he's the second best quarterback in the league right now. Last year, 31 touchdowns, 5 picks, just extremely efficient. In an offense that I might add seems to not know that they have Russell Wilson. Okay, the guy 31 and 5, like I said, but they treat him like he's Jimmy Garoppolo, and they run on first and second down right up the middle, and he's constantly in 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 7s, and they're telling Russell, hey, just go make that play for us because we know you can. I would love to see them be a little more innovative and just let the reins off of Russell Wilson. And I really do think that happens this year. They've acquired some more weapons. They're always in the talks for getting another big name receiver. Got another year with DK Metcalf, who I do think, unlike Debo, is more equipped to be your number one right away, just based off of his physicality, his skill set. You've got Tyler Lockett, who Russell has a great connection with. And really and truly, like I said, with the loss of DeForest and the loss of E-Man, I think it's going to be harder in those games for the Niners to generate pressure and to score on Seattle, and those ultimately, to me, result in 2 losses. Is the enhanced strength of the NFC as a conference. Okay, you have TB12, the GOAT, Tom Brady, coming into Tampa Bay, playoff team. Okay, I don't care what you got to say, playoff team. Jameis Winston threw 33 touchdowns for them last year, but he also threw 31 picks, 30-30 club on his Drake tip. Right. Tom Brady, he might put up the same amount of touchdowns or maybe a couple less, but he's going to be far more efficient with the ball, and he will not ever in his life throw 31 interceptions in a single season. The Buccaneers are a team that's going to be better. I think the Falcons are going to be better. While they might not make the playoffs because of the NFC South as a whole being a tough division, I do think they're going to be a lot better this year. And I think that they're a team that could give a team like the 49ers trouble getting into the playoffs as a wild card team. Okay, I look across and I see the NFC East. I see only one team getting out of there, but there's a possibility the Eagles or Cowboys is in a wild card position. You know, the Eagles acquired Darius Slay. The Cowboys look like they've gotten better on paper as well. And then I look within their division, right? I already talked about Seattle being 2 losses for them. The Cardinals gave them tough games last year, and they added DeAndre Hopkins, a top 3 receiver in the league. So I think that might be 1 loss. And I think you also see a resurgence of the Rams. I think last year they kind of got humbled a little bit coming off the Super Bowl woes. But you get Jalen Ramsey in there for a full training camp and off season. You have Aaron Donald still. It's not going to be an easy defense to score on. I think you see a resurgence of the McVay, the genius, you know. So there could be a loss. It's just going to be a tougher division for them. So I think the NFC powerhouse of a conference that it is, I think it's going to make it all the more tougher for them to make the playoffs. But if they make it, go deep in the playoffs and get back to the Super Bowl. Number 8, I kind of touched on it a little bit in the last one, but I don't think they'll have home field advantage if they make the playoffs, right? I just mentioned all the teams, and these reasons are pretty much intertwined. But I just don't see them being that same dominant team that they were last season. Jimmy G, he was top 7 last year in both touchdowns at 27 and interceptions, 13. And if you ask me right now, which one do you think he'll be top 7 in the league in again going forward, I would put my house down that he would be top 7 in interceptions again before he's top 7 in touchdowns again. That's just kind of where I'm at with that. I felt like the touchdowns was the outlier more so than him throwing a lot of picks. Because if you look at it in the Super Bowl against Minnesota in the divisional round, I believe, there's going to be 2 or 3 passes every game where Jimmy G just kind of closes his eyes and throws it to the other team. It's just up to the other team to catch it, right? The Super Bowl pick that he threw, he literally closed his eyes and just threw it right to Bashad Breeland. So I don't see them getting home field advantage, and I think that's a big thing for them more than a lot of teams because of all the other reasons I mentioned. I think the running game won't be as powerful as it was, as they were second in the league in rushing yards last year. I kind of see that dropping a little. Teams getting more of a sense of, okay, let's just stack the box and make Jimmy G make every single throw. I think the defense takes a step back from being as great as it was last year. And then that leads me to reason number 9 for the Niners. I just really think this is important. I think that there's that mental aspect of performing how they performed in the Super Bowl last year and having the win in their hands and it being taken away from them and partially them choking it away in the Super Bowl. I think that mental aspect really, really weighs on you. If you look at some of the recent history Super Bowl losers, right, because I think the Chiefs will be just fine. I don't think they get the Super Bowl hangover of being the champs and slacking. But if you look at some of the losers in the past few years, right, you look at last year or the year before last, the Rams, right, they were this, well, they'll be back, and last year they don't make the playoffs. They have a terrible year. I think of Seattle again as another team. The second Super Bowl that they went to with the infamous on the 1 yard line you throw the slant, and Malcolm Butler picks it off. That kind of ended the Legion of Boom as we knew it. People were disgruntled. People didn't trust the coaching staff. It weighed on them more mentally than anything physical, and I think that's really, really an important part of sports. Is just, are you on the same page with everybody? Do you trust everyone? When you lose a game in that type of magnitude that you lost it, it really weighs on the players. It really weighs on the coaching staff to be just picture perfect next time. I think you could see a little bit of Kyle Shanahan overthinking things in a couple games next year. Don't be surprised if they lose a couple games by him overthinking instead of just going with what he knows and going with his gut. All right. But I say all that to say 49ers, I think they'll be a good team again. Like they're talented enough to win 10 games and sneak into a wild card. I think Seattle wins the division, and I think ultimately the 49ers get bounced by the divisional round. I don't see them making the conference championship. NFC's too deep now. You got Tampa Bay, you got New Orleans, you got Seattle, you have the Packers, and on paper, one of the teams in the NFC East has got to come out, and they can both be dangerous in the playoffs if everything holds up right. So, you guys let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm capping on the Niners' name, if I'm going a little too harsh on them or anything like that. Shout out Jungle Supply. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. And like I said, I'll leave a link to the podcast in the description. Make sure you guys share it with a friend, listen to it, subscribe to it, whatever you got to do.